Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Calvas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about writing for publication strategies for effective journal submission. Publishing in academic journal is a critical step in sharing research, advancing careers, and contributing to scholarly discourse. Of course, in this session, we will explore key strategies to enhance the manuscript quality, the navigate the submission process, and increase acceptance rate. So, indeed, very interesting topic, and I'm sure you will learn a lot from this session as we have an expert with us in today's this session. So stay tuned because amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Calvas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Calvas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, and suggestions, which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually as well as to contribute to the world in positive way. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have amazing person as guest. We have invited him for multiple times, and he is one of the most popular speaker on Calva's platform. And he is kind enough that always accept our request and hold the multiple sessions in order to share his knowledge. He's a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, researcher, professional, a great friend, and a great brother of mine. And above everything, a great human being. So please help me in welcoming once again Professor Dr. FROILAN MOBO. Welcome to the Calvas platform once again, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you once again for inviting me, Shah. So, once again from the Philippines, good evening. It's so wonderful again to be back and going to share a lot of things which is really needed, especially in our academic community.
Thank you so much, and over to you, Prof. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So my task for this session is, of course, to discuss the writing for publication strategies for effective journal submission. So there's a big opportunity for here when we talk about how do we write for publication and strategies for effective journal submission. So part of that, for the introduction, of course, it's an importance of how do we determine the importance of publishing research, the challenges of researchers face in journal selections, of course, overview of some things that we have to talk. So when we understand about journal types, usually we have to be aware that there's a differences between academic, of course, and other professional journals. For example, we have an open access versus subscription. So if you're going to think about it, what is the difference between open access and a subscription-based journal? Of course, when we say open access, uh, it's a good opportunity for us researchers that it can be easily be cited, not unlike a subscription. Of course, it depends. It the author allows it to be subscribed. Definitely, it will be uh, cited. But the most common thing, if you want to your journal or paper to be highly citable, you can subscribe to open access. Those are the big differences when we talk about open access. Then the difference between peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed journals is that if you're going to check the standards, or when we talk about peer review, of course, it maintains standards and credibility. For instance, if you're going to check the quality of work that they have published, they will be able to adhere some guidance coming from the copy. In a non-peer-reviewed journals, usually they something like it can be categorized like a predatory article which is being published but which is not being peer reviewed and nothing has been changed. So those are the things that we should be able to understand when we talk about journal, like especially for academic and professional journals. When we talk about academic, these journals are based from universities or institutions. For professional journals, usually we talk about those journals which is being maintained by publishers. So of course, there are things that we should be able to consider. The differences, of course, when we talk about academic, that is solely institutionalized, which is funded by the university or institution. Unlike for private professional journals, usually that is uh, by support by the publisher itself. So those are the things that, but in terms of standards, they uh, focus on the same standard which is being maintained by the copy uh, organization. So why journal selection matters, of course, it will be able to give impact on career advancement. For example, if you're going to determine between open access and subscription journal, of course, when we talk about open access, it's a good opportunity for us authors that it will really gain more visibility of your research. It will be able to gain more citations. The visibility citations will increase totally. And of course, it's a big opportunity for us authors and scholars because it is one of the requirement right now if we're talking about the university ranking. For example, the WERI, they focus more on the number of citations of your publications. So those are things that when we talk about the opportunity for publishing your article in open access. Then funding and collaboration opportunity, of course, it's a big opportunity for us, especially if you are going to meet friends, just like, for example, me and Dr. Shah, we have already collaborated in one of his book chapter. I already submitted an article. I think it was already been approved. So those are things of a start for possible collaboration. And if there's a possible funding project, it's an open opportunity for your institutions and other institutions as well to collaborate for possible bigger projects because those are the things that it might also contribute to the research community as well. Then some key factors in selecting a journal, of course, we have to be we have to be aware the scope and aim of the journal because if we are going to submit our article in a not aligned based on our topic, definitely it will be rejected. So we should be able to know the scope and aim of the journal if our article will be able to match on the requirement. And of course, considering the target audience, for instance, if your paper is something like an interdisciplinary approach, so definitely all the readers might be able to consider reading your article. They might be able to cite that on the latter part. And of course, the indexing and impact factor, just like what we always discuss, indexing plays a pivotal role. For instance, if you want to know if the journal is really maintaining the standards, you have to check their indexing. For instance, let's say if their index is with Scopus, with the Web of Science, in other databases, just like what we are doing in other journal, in other publisher, just like for example in IGI, of course, it's being indexed with the Web of Science in Scopus. So definitely, it has a good peer review. It has a good impact factor based on the performance that they're doing. Another, checking the scope of a journal is how you will be able to align your topic with the journal scope, just like what I mentioned a while ago with the aims, where to find your scope information. Of course, there are databases, for instance, like Scopus thing, source finder. You should be able to check the topic that might be able to help you align it. For example, a well-defined journal scope or other database. So you should be able to check all aspects. For instance, if you're looking for a good journal, just you have to check the aims and scope if it will really match to the requirement that is needed. That's the first one that we have to consider because otherwise, if you're not going to follow this process, your article will be totally be rejected. Then understanding the journal indexing, for instance, just like what I mentioned a while ago, indexing plays a vital role. Just like here in the Philippines, usually in terms of uh, for faculty promotion, we usually uh, talk about the indexing, like let's say Scopus, the Web of Science, and other major databases, as long as they have a process of a rigorous peer review. And you know that the Scopus and other higher ranking databases plays a major role, and they, of course, follow standards with regards to its reputations. And of course, why indexing matters, of course, if we talk about indexing, just like Scopus, of course, it's a very well-known database that indices, no, indexes high quality papers, of course, that matches the requirement of the stakeholder. Another impact factor in journal metrics plays a major role. For instance, you will be able to know their number of each index, the index based on the number of publications that they have. You will be able to know that the metrics that they have, for instance, let's say if it increases every year, it means that, or in an annual, it means that they're really performing well. Then I already talked about this one. Of course, when we talk about open access again, it is something like it is really visible when we publish in this kind of journal or book chapter because it will be cited easily. Recognizing predatory journal plays it's also an important. So you should be able to check the history, the things that they are doing. For instance, in terms of publication process, you should be able to know that they should be able to maintain standards. Then examples of red flags, for instance, if they don't follow a particular uh, process or a particular template, and if they are not consistent in terms of collecting the article processing charges. So you should be alarmed with that. It's an alarming that it is being considered as a predator. And then you can verify the journal's legitimacy. There's a lot of things that we could be able to know if the journal really meets its standard. For instance, the aims and scope, everything, including the members of the editorial board or the characteristics, of course, it will reflect on the type of journal or publisher. So evaluating editorial board and review process, usually it is an importance of a particular reputable publishers. They could be able to give certain standards that could be able to align in the uh, stakeholder, then you should be able to understand the peer review process that usually it would be able to take a longer time. Of course, you can also check the editor's credentials in the website. That's why it's very important that you should be able to post it so that once they have visited your website, especially the members of the editorial board and other governing board, they will be able to to be aware that this group uh, uses standards based on the ISO and also based on them. And part of that, the journal acceptance and rate and review time. And of course, it's really important. Of course, it depends on the frequency, it depends on the activity, understanding the publication timeless. Usually, this is very important on the part of the publisher. So you have to know to balance the speed and the quality and ensure that it will be uh, turned over to a particular process. Of course, the publication and author charges usually it depends on the cases, okay, and it depends on other areas that could be able to align on what we are trying to talk about this afternoon. And of course, the submission guidelines and formatting it plays a major role. That's why we always mention this to our uh, uh, authors that they should be able to maintain standards, the integrity, everything, because later we might be able to also to ask some assistance from them. So these are things that we should be aware, and the ethical considerations in journal selection, of course, part of that this is very important. Avoiding multiple submissions, even with my friends during my talk in every sessions, I always advise them that once you have submitted your paper in one journal, you should be able to wait for its decision, whether it's being accepted or rejected. Then, of course, there are some case study. Let's say the selecting the right journal is that example of a research topic, how to shortlist journals, and of course, decision making because these things plays a major role in our publication industry. And of course, the tools and resources for journal selection that it could be able to align, it could be able to check based on what we are doing in our uh, academic community. And part of that is when you have received a possible rejection from your paper, you should be able to uh, check the following reasons. You should be able to check the situations of these places, and of course the resubmission strategies on how to be able to uh, to be aware that there's a lot of things that we should be able to know. And of course, the increasing of acceptance chances sometimes usually depends on how the author have come up and arrived with this particular process. So why topic selection matters? Of course, it is a foundation of academic and professional success. It could be able to align with the personal interest and other things which is really an important plays a major role in our organization. And of course, the key considerations we have the following uh, topic which is being selected and possibly it will be distributed in other places. So aligning with goals, of course, the research part is that it contributes to the degree of requirements or tenure places in other process. Then you could also apply brainstorming techniques that this thing will be able to get its opportunity in other process as well. So you can also refine your topic based on the requirement. Common pitfalls usually it's on the part of what you are doing as a responsible person. Then leveraging tools, of course, is a new uh, process when we want to leverage tools like for example, you can use Google Scholar, ResearchGate, and other high-ranking database that could be able to uh, help and support us. So publication strategies, there's also a lot of things that we should be able to aware, the alignment of the area, and of course the incorporations of internal interdisciplinary approaches. So it depends on how we could be able to refine everything which is really needed. So in these conclusions, of course, the right research topic balance interest, relevance, and feasibility, and collaboration feedback, of course, enhance topic refinement, of course, in other areas that we should be able to follow with some certain regulations and processes. So uh, those things, if you're going to take a look on it, so uh, it depends. So of course, we also have boosting institutional author. So it depends again on the perception of your uh, process, and then we also it can also lead to access to funding, other projects. It depends. So we already have this kind of situations that it must be fully aware. So we also have significance of international submissions. It also plays a major role on the following series of area. Then strategies to create the abstract. Of course, it depends on how it will be closely interconnected and strengthening the cul- uh, cultural collaboration. So it is something like thinking of what will be able to happen, everything. So it is important rule that we should be able to finalize everything which is really needed by the uh, persons. Okay, so then it can also place research citations and everything. So those are the things that plays a major role. So that would be on the last part of my presentation. So I hope that everyone was able to learn new strategies, new techniques when we talk about publication in a particular journal and everything. So with that, thank you, Dr. Shah, for giving me an opportunity to discuss uh, the following processes. So, once again, thank you, Dr. Shah, for inviting me. Uh,
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Dr. FROILAN MOBO, for your wonderful presentation. As usual, I knew that you will be covering a lot of topics in your short span of time. I really
yes.
enjoyed the way you just talked about the scope of the journal. We should considering the indexing, whether it is high impact or the scopus. Yeah, along with that, you talked about the collaboration, the funding, and you talked about the ethical consideration. All those things I think is very important to understand. And if you see, we have got questions related to those things as well, which you have already incorporated in your wonderful slides. There is one question which, since you are already author by yourself, editor as well, you have edited the books as well, so you would know. So please, we would like you to comment on this question that what are the some common reasons for manuscript rejection? Can you just tell us as author and editor as well for our audience, please?
Most likely, the common reasons for manuscript rejection is, for instance, let's say, the out of scope of the topic, and other things like it doesn't meet the standards of the paper because it doesn't match on the aims and scope of the paper. So there's things that we should be aware and know that these are things are really important.
Yes, very nice. And I think these are very important points which you have highlighted for the manuscript rejection. So that's all wonderful. Once again, thank you, Professor Dr. Purinan.
Thank you also,
And
Carl.
as you know that we take always a wonderful message from you. So what would be your message this time to the world as a speaker, author, teacher, researcher, trainer, learner, and educator? Yes, please.
Of course, to all my friends around the globe, it is very important that we must have a perseverance on in other aspects. It really helps that we should be able to help our co-researchers and possible researchers in the community.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful message now this time to the world. Thank you once again for your wonderful presentation. And
Yes,
to the audience that please do follow our distinguished guest speaker through his research work and you can email him for future learning and guidance. He is very generous and always ready to help the people. Moreover, wonderful explanation and powerful content which the great speaker has already elaborated will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding the different strategies from submission to acceptance of a publication. That's all we have time for today. Thank you once again, Professor Dr. Foilan Mobo. You are always kind and you are always very uh, great in terms of that you give us the precious time and share your knowledge. I would also like to thank our audience who join us. If you have additional questions about information shared today, please email us or connect to the speaker directly through his email or social media. Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session until next session. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.